Welcome to Here for the Gear. We're going to be talking about your best buddy when it comes to bass today, and that's your subwoofer. Make sure you click like and subscribe to my channel, and let's get down to business. Now, you can have the best receiver, and I'm sure you saw my video on those, and you can have some really nice towers for your mids and high sounds, but when it comes to deep and low sounds, that's where your subwoofer comes into play. And the reason it's good for this is because of two key elements. First, it has the largest cone out of all your speakers. Well, it should at least. And second, it has its own dedicated amplifier, so you aren't pulling away from the power of your receiver to give it that extra horsepower needed to drive that larger cone. Now, you have a couple of ratings to look for as well with the continuous wattage, which is the volume you can run the subwoofer at constantly without damaging or playing music during movies or whatever you're listening to. And then you have the peak wattage rating, which is like a sudden quick burst of energy similar to an explosion. Think of a subwoofer like a motorcycle engine idling. About half throttle is continuous wattage, and then you give it that real quick rev, where you kind of redline it for just a brief second, and that's like your peak wattage. You don't want to keep it there, but it's okay to do it occasionally, so you don't damage the equipment or the engine components. And that's kind of how the subwoofer works also. Alright, I'm going to show you some of the best subwoofers that I've selected for this year that will really enhance your listening experience. One last thing you want to consider also is the size of the other speakers you're pairing it with. I mean, if you're running a small pair of bookshelf speakers, you might not want to get a giant 15-inch sub. However, I also look at it this way. If you're going to upgrade in the future, go ahead and invest now and just turn it down a little bit. Polk has delivered a nice front-firing and front-ported sub with the PSW10. This 10-inch model has a polymer composite cone driver, as you can see, which is beautiful. Almost debateful if you want to run it with the cover on or off. The frequency response on this ranges from 30 Hz up to 200. It's rated for a continuous 50 watt and peaks at 100, which is still pretty decent for a sub of its price range and class. The Pioneer SW8 is a nice down-firing 8-inch subwoofer. You notice from the picture, the vent is obviously front-facing. This way, all of the energy from the back of the driver comes towards you. The sub is rated at 100 peak watts, and also has a crossover and phase adjustment. Not a bad sub at all. The Klipsch R-10SWi sub is a nice sub kit. Notice the WI. This is because it gives you the wireless adapter to allow the sub to go in wireless form. Of course, if you want to use cables, you can too. It's a 10-inch sub, and it's rated for 150 watts continuous and 300 watts peak. And don't forget that gorgeous Klipsch copper cone. The Bic Acoustech PL200 is a really nice unit with its 12-inch front-firing cone and dual ports. The poly-injected woofer can move a lot of air when the time is right. It's rated at 250 watts and, are you sitting down, 1,000 peak watts. It has a frequency rating between 22 and 200 Hz. It features adjustable amplifier and crossovers as well as gold-plated terminals on the back. A really great value for a 12-inch sub. KEF has made legendary audio gear for years, and their subwoofers are no exceptions. The KEF Cube 10B is a 10-inch front-firing subwoofer with 300 watts of peak power. On the back, it also has your standard volume and crossover controls. One thing that's interesting is it features an equalizer settings for its placement if it's in a corner, in a wall or cabinet, or just in the ordinary room. It also has phase control, a really nice piece of hardware from KEF, no doubt. Don't let size deceive you. The Deitytech SuperCube may house a 7.5-inch active sub, but it also houses two 7.5-inch passive subs. This gives you the illusion, if you will, of a much larger sub. It really kicks some bass. Because of how much air it has to move, it's powered by a 650 watt amp as well. Go Definitive Technology, a really nice subwoofer. If you really want to test those double pane windows as well as the sensitivity of the neighbor's car alarms, the SVS PB16-Ultra will be right up your alley. This 174-pound beast can go as low as 15 Hz in its standard settings. This is so low you will only feel it. It can run continuous at 1500 watts and can peak at a mind and window blowing 5000 watts. This sub can be controlled by an Android app or by iPhone app via Bluetooth. It also features a really slick front LED display for viewing your volume level and different adjustments as you're making them via your phone app. If you don't mind the price of this sub, it will really knock you and your neighbor's socks off. Number 1 on our list goes to the Klipsch R-115SW 15-inch subwoofer. This was a tough toss-up between this subwoofer and a couple of others, but it came down to ease of availability and cost. For what it is, this is a beast of a subwoofer at 15 inches with a full-width open port at the front. It's rated at 400 watts continuous and 800 peak watts. This 75-pound monster will bring down the ceiling when you turn on the bass. And like all the other Klipsch gear, you'll be up for debate on if you want to keep the grill on or off. I mean, it is a beautiful subwoofer and it sounds excellent. Well, there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed my reviews and were able to gain a little bit of helpful information out of that. If you have, please click like and subscribe to my channel for anything in the future. And thanks for watching Here for the Gear.